What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to How's It Going to End? How you doing? How you feeling? That's great. It's been a couple weeks. I took a couple weeks off because I don't know. It's not that I was like not wanting to do this. It's an interesting relationship, honestly. Because it's been a couple actually pretty great weeks. Started going back to the movies again. Finally, get fucking vaccinated. And that's all I've been doing, but that's just enough to reach like a peak level of happiness that I haven't had in a very long time. It's been a good time. It's been a good couple weeks. It's interesting. It's like the more sometimes I don't want to do. It's like probably like I'm probably reading out the definition of like depression or whatever, but like you don't want to do what you most want to do. No motivation whatsoever. It's gone. Zero. And that sounds like it should be like, oh, it's what you most want to do. Why don't you just do it? It's because I don't want to. The power of not wanting to do it is unbelievably strong against the immediate impulse of motivation to be like, let's go do what you want to do. You know what I mean? Does that make any sense? But yeah, 2 weeks. I don't know. You know what? Fuck it. It's been a good 2 weeks, man. I saw a bunch of movies. I'm still seeing movies. Because now is the fucking perfect time to go see a movie, by the way. Come on. What are you doing? They're not asking you to even provide anything if you fucking go. Which is, I'm surprised. Like, I went to a baseball game and they were like, yes, can we see proof of a negative COVID test or of your vaccine card where you have two weeks after your vaccination. Well, yeah, I get it. That makes sense. I'm surprised they're not doing that in a bunch of other places. But enough on that shit. Fucking back at the movies, man. Back at the fucking movies. It was so long. I mean, the last movie I saw in theaters was Birds of Prey, which is a great movie to go out on. I wish I fucking knew. I wish I knew that was going to be my last one for like 15 months. What was that? February 6th to April 30th. I came back to the movies with the re-release of Scott Pilgrim vs. the World at Dolby Cinema, which is such a good movie to go back to the movies for. I mean, you've probably heard of it at least. It's such a good fucking movie. It came out in 2010, directed by the genius Edgar Wright. The man can't miss. I think if he tried to make a bad movie, it would still be amazing. So that was a great one to go back to the movies with. And then, I mean, the weird thing about this whole like movie theaters slowly creeping back in position is there's no movies in theaters to kind of put out. Sometimes there are, maybe they're premiering on HBO Max or they have that fucking deal. But like I saw the 25 year anniversary re-release of like Fargo, which I had never seen in theaters. A lot of these movies I'd seen in like fucking Blu-ray on my TV or something, but there's something so special about going to the theaters to see these movies. I've never seen the Lord of the Rings trilogy at theaters, like in a movie theater on the big screen, which growing up, I mean, there are all these movies I wish I'd been able to see in a movie theater, and they're all kind of going and re-released right now just to bring people back to theaters. I mean, I went to this one theater and they were giving out like free concessions, just to have people coming in because no one's going in to see movies right now, which is so fucking sad because you'd think that after so long without them, they'd be flooded. But I guess more people are a little more cautious. And then I saw Fellowship of the Ring and The Two Towers at the Alamo in Brooklyn, which I don't think I had been there longer than in movie theaters in general. I think the last time I was there, I was seeing It Chapter 2, which is like, fuck, dude, that's so long. That's October 2019, Jesus. And they're doing this event, like I guess it's the 20-something. This year is the 20-year anniversary of Lord of the Rings, the trilogy, of like from the beginning of the trilogy. So 2 weeks ago was Fellowship of the Ring, last week Two Towers, and then upcoming this weekend they're doing Return of the King. And after each one of them, they have Stephen Colbert, who is like a huge Lord of the Rings fan. I mean, I think he cameoed in the Hobbit movies, but he's doing like a Zoom pre-recorded Q&A with a bunch of people from the cast. So for the first one, it was like Elijah Wood, Billy Boyd, Dominic Monaghan, and how could I forget Sam's name? I forgot the actor of Sam. He was in fucking Stranger Things recently, and I don't watch Stranger Things, but that's unbelievable. I feel like such a Sean Astin. There we go. They were at the Fellowship of the Ring, and then last week, or I guess a couple days ago, was Viggo Mortensen, Kate Blanchett, Liv Tyler, and Orlando Bloom. And then next week coming up, which is going to be a fucking great one, Peter Jackson, Ian McKellen, Andy Serkis, and I think that's it. Yeah. Wow. It's going to be crazy. What it's like, what fucking movies? I wish this was the first time I was seeing them. It's unbelievable how much, like, these movies are, I don't know of another movie in the last 20 years. I mean, okay, I guess fucking the build-up with Endgame and all that, I guess that is enough to rival it when it comes to theater experience. But I'm talking, like, before a cinematic universe was a thing. These are a trilogy of movies that were greenlit and filmed back to back to back. These are like 5 years of people's lives making these movies from like 2000 in pre-production to then. And it's like, I wish this could have been my first time seeing them, or at least seeing them in theaters when they came out. That would have been fucking insane. What are you gonna do? But seeing all these, like all the moments that I fucking, like, come on. You can't watch Lord of the Rings and not cry when Gandalf falls in the end of Fellowship of the Ring. You can't not. And if you're saying you're not, you're lying. Because when he's holding on there and he realizes he has to just let go, he goes, "Fly, you fools." And then the triumphant fucking, like, not even triumphant, it's like a dreadful cry from Frodo, and they're all holding him back, and they know that this is the goodbye Gandalf the Grey, you know? I'm geeking the fuck out. But, oh my God, that's so good. And then Boromir's death. You're going to have to deal with this. Sorry, it's been 2 weeks and I have a lot to talk about. Boromir's death. Ooh. The way he keeps taking arrow after arrow. And because he's, like, so upset and disgusted with himself for trying to take the ring, he, like, fully sacrifices himself for the hobbits. Oh my God, so good. And then the two towers. There's the entire fight scene at Helm's Deep. Oh my God. Just something about seeing that on, like, a giant screen. I'm so glad to have finally at least experienced that. That's the best thing about movies right now is, yeah, you got new ones coming out, which I did see a new one a couple days ago, and a second time that same new one. But that's the best thing is they're like, all right, we got to get people to come to theaters. Let's release some of the classics. And it's like, oh, thank you. Because I've always wanted to see these movies in theaters and I've never had the chance. But, yeah. It's pretty great. Pretty fucking good time. It's just nice to be back in the fucking theater, man. It's nice to be back in a theater and just, you know, a chunk of the day where it's a very community driven thing, man. It's funny to think about it, but it's like the last time you think about it, like before the whole pandemic, think about the last time you were at the movie theater. You're all going there for one thing at the same time. It's fucking like church. Frankly, like, I've never gone to church, you know, never grew up with any of that stuff, but that's what it feels like. That's what I imagine it feels like, frankly, is like, it's a communal thing you do whatever night a week. Fuck Sundays. I'm not doing shit on a Sunday. Get out of here. And you're all there and you're all facing the same direction, and it's a awe-inspiring thing, you know? And then I saw a new movie. I saw Army of the Dead. Now, it's a very good movie. It's a very good zombie movie. It's a very emotional zombie movie. I have a lot to talk about with it. I have a review coming out. Let's see, this is being posted May 18th today. Today is May 18th, if I put this up today, which I will. I have a review coming out May 21st, the day that it drops on Netflix, because for the last week, it's been in theaters, select theaters across the country. Netflix worked out a deal with some theaters, and boom, and there you go. And thank fuck I got to see this movie in theaters, because this is a movie theater movie if there ever fucking was one. You know, I saw it for the first time last Wednesday. So with a week and a half it's been in theaters. Last Wednesday I saw it. And every seat that was sold, it's a socially distanced thing, but every seat that was sold was filled. You know what I mean? You buy one seat and then the two next to you are empty. And then in a theater, in this theater, I went to the Paris Theater in Manhattan, in Midtown Manhattan. It's a very, very old theater, but recently they had like a whole thing. They have a whole deal with Netflix now to release exclusives there because it's a one theater location. So they cater to one for a specific amount of time, and it's really great. And I just found out that I had an aunt that worked there, which is pretty cool, but I didn't know that. And so I saw it there. And it's such a fucking good theater movie. And I'm going to get into a lot of this in my review this weekend. Of course, it's going to be no spoilers in this review. But yeah, it's going to be good. See, that's the thing. It's like, I feel like a fucking moron. It's like going to the movies with a group of people, even if it's socially distanced. And it's that kind of movie in the theater, you know, where when it's funny, everybody laughs. When it's surprising, everyone goes. When it's awesome, everyone fucking, you know, you can feel the fist pumps. You know what I mean? No one's gonna really cheer unless it's like Avengers Assemble. But it's like you can feel like when something cool happens, everyone in the theater was like fucking, oh wow, that was awesome, you know? And that's what that experience was. And I'm gonna go into a lot more of that. But holy shit, man, that was a good one. That was a movie, like that was a good movie, the best possible movie to watch after the last year and a half. 100%. If someone said like you're only going to be able to, with the knowledge I know now, you're only going to be able to watch one movie after the pandemic not ends. It's not fucking over yet. There's a bunch of stupid people not getting vaccinated, but on the decline, let's say, you get to see a movie with a bunch of people. I'm going to pick this movie every fucking time because, oh my God, what a good fucking movie to see with a group of people. This is coming out today. There's still a couple days to see it in theaters. So please, if you're able to, I know that a lot of places their theaters aren't open, which sucks, but for like the good part of the pandemic, New York kept its theaters closed, and for a good chunk of last August, I think they reopened, or last September, and it fucking sucked watching everyone else go to the movies. So suck it. If you can see this movie in theaters, I highly recommend it. Please do so. You will enjoy it'll be such like, listen, man, I'm not going to fucking joke around. It was an emotional experience. Being in a room with everyone feeling the same things at the same time is fucking great. It's great. There's nothing like it. There's easily nothing like it. So yeah, that was good. And I have a special surprise that I don't know. I think at the end of my spoiler-free review, I will reveal this surprise for next week's episode of the podcast. I got a good surprise. I have something that I didn't think would happen, but it's happening. So I'll reveal that at the end of my spoiler-free review. Oh, I also met... Stupid. After I walked out of the movie, I'm looking around and I see this tatted guy. I see this white-haired tatted guy. He's got a bandana mask, and I'm like, oh, I feel like I recognize him. Just for some reason, you know, when you look at someone and there's just like a thing about them, and I'm like, where have I seen this guy? I feel like I've seen him before. I feel like something about him is familiar. And I go, are you a photographer? And he goes, yeah. And he goes, I'm Clay. And it's fucking Clay Años, the photographer for Zack Snyder's movies since like Watchmen, who's got those iconic portrait shots of all the actors and in their costumes and all those great shots. And I was like, holy shit, I'm a huge fan. Your stuff is like, I do photography kind of. So I'm like, your stuff is so inspiring. It's really like strong, and the black and white photos is great. And it's just so powerful. And then he goes, thank you. We shake hands. And then I get a couple pictures. And then this tall black guy walks out of the theater. And that's important to the story. He walks out and I'm like, now who do I fuck? I know this fucking guy. Why do I look at him and I go, something about you is in a file in my head somewhere. And I go, is that? And then Clay goes, yeah. I go, is that Cyborg? He goes, yeah. It's fucking Ray Fisher. He and Ray were watching the movie. They went to see the movie to support Snyder, which is a beautiful thing to me. So that's something about that is fucking amazing. But they were in the movie the whole time, like the two of them watching this movie. And I was like, holy shit. Well, first off, it's fucking Ray Fisher. I mean, it's Cyborg. It's a. I'm not a big star guy. I mean, if I see someone famous, I'm like, oh shit, hey, how you doing, fan? I don't. I'm also too overanalyzing about things. I don't want to be the guy that the famous person hates. You know what I mean? So I was like, oh shit. I mean, dude, it's. I don't even have like the. There's too many words in my head to say how it feels to like see you in real life and meet you right now. And he was the kindest fucking dude in the world. He's standing around. He's like, oh, thank you. And he's sticking around for me to be like, well, as I'm kind of like sputtering and being like, oh, like these last 4 years, I don't even, and I'm like I'm like just trying to filter a bunch of thoughts into like a couple sentences because I don't want to fucking bother them. You know, I don't want to keep them too long. So I'm like freaking out and I go, I mean, obviously, like you were the best part of the movie. It's unbelievable how much they I mean, it's almost like there's a very interesting thing about meeting a famous person and being in this atmosphere of like comic book movies and all that shit, and like or you know the news of this entire industry and being like, dude, it makes no sense to even be like, hey man, they did you wrong with Justice League and all that. It's like, yeah, he knows and he's been talking about it. Everyone's been talking about it, so that's what we have in common. Everything else is like, whew, but with that, I was like, holy shit. It's so cool to meet you, you know, big fan and thanks. And we took a picture and he's like the nicest fucking dude. He took a bunch of them and yeah, that was great. That was really, really cool. that was cool. Something about the idea of all of us sitting in the movie theater. Like that's what I love about the communal aspect of a movie theater, man, is we're all sitting there and we're all like, you know, when something's funny, it's fucking funny, dude. And everyone's laughing. And when something scares the shit out of you, everyone either like, you know, gasps or laughs nervously. That's like the coolest shit to me. So that was great. That was really good. And then yesterday, I saw Army of the Dead a second time because I wanted to take notes because I don't like taking notes the first time I see things because I don't want to distract from actually like missing anything. So the second time, took a bunch of notes, compiling them into a review. It's not really even going to be a review. I don't know. Something about a review feels too constricting for a movie like this, at least. But yeah, just gonna talk about what I liked. It's the few things I didn't like. Oh, that's cutting. And yeah, that was great. A lot of news, man. A lot of shit happened in 2.5 weeks. A lot to talk about. What do we talk about? We can talk about the Marvel releases. I didn't get to talk about that with everybody. Oh yeah, also I'm going to talk about the Invincible finale of this. I know I'm late. What are you going to do? Marvel came back with this whole trailer about everyone going back to the movies, which was, you know, amazing. They know what they're doing when it comes to that stuff. There's no denying. Like, I have problems with some movies. There's no denying they know what they're doing. And as we speak, there's like a whole reshuffling of like everything Warner Brothers and Warner Media and a thing going on with Discovery that I am so uninformed about. If you're here to hear me talk about that, I'm sorry. I don't know enough about what's happening with that. All I know is that I think Warner Media and Discovery are merging with like a 40-something billion dollar contract. And it's going to become like a super production studio or something. It's going to be pumping out shit apparently, and it's going to be doing a bunch of stuff. We got DC Fandom returning, which I don't think anyone expected. I think everyone was assumed that was going to be a pandemic thing, but I guess they're not doing like Comic-Con this year in New York in October. So DC Fandom is coming back October 16th. Probably going to get some more Batman stuff. Probably going to get some Black Adam and a bunch of these other movies that they announced with like Static Shock and Blue Beetle and all that, which is going to be great. You know, so it's going to be full of a bunch of awesome shit. Depending on how you feel about the current slate, because I know there's a lot of fucking people that are, you know, it'll never make sense to me. I'm a huge Snyder fan. It'll never make sense to me when someone like when you go, we're not getting the Snyderverse, but we're getting these. Don't do to those what happens to Snyder's movies. It'll never make any sense to me. Why are you doing that? Whatever, I've talked about that already. Fuck it. So Marvel releases this giant movie trailer, 4 movies, and they release a bunch of new dates and a bunch of new logos, and I should probably have that shit queued up. For Phase 4. Phase 4 is coming back with a fucking vengeance, man. It sucks. I was disappointed to see that Blade wasn't in it. Blade's coming, I guess, Phase 5, because I heard they're ending Phase 4 with Fantastic Four, which is cool. All right, Black Widow. When is this shit coming out? Black Widow is coming out. I don't have the exact dates. The order is Black Widow, Shang-Chi, Eternals, which I'm surprised. I guess I thought Eternals would come first. Spider-Man No Way Home, Doctor Strange 2, Thor 3, Black Panther 2, which has been retitled Wakanda Forever, which I think that's a great title, rather than just, the Roman numeral 2. Ant-Man and the Marvels, which is the sequel to Captain Marvel, which is interesting because now they have Monica Rambeau as Photon, or I don't know. I heard someone say it's a different version of that character, and you're bringing in Miss Marvel in her Disney Plus show, which should be coming soon. So that's the Marvels, and then you have Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, which, sure, I only want to see Kang in that. I don't care about anyone else. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, and then Fantastic Four, and that's supposed to be ending Phase 4. Which is, that sounds. This is the most solid phase, personally, to me, since I think maybe like Phase 2. When it comes to blow by blow hits, I didn't see a bunch of those in a bunch of Phase 3 in theaters, except for like the big ones. I only saw Black Panther, Infinity War, Age of Ultron. Was Civil War in theater in Phase 3? I think so. Yeah, that's pretty much it. I didn't see Doctor Strange or any of that in theaters. So yeah, that's a fucking long list of solid fucking movies that are coming out. That is going to bring people to theaters for sure. If there's one surefire bet to get like $1 billion at the movie theaters, maybe not during the pandemic, but close enough, is an up and coming Marvel movie. Should be good. We have Andrew Garfield, who did this whole interview, I think, with Collider or someone, talking about how, like, he hasn't gotten a call for No Way Home, which is like, oh my, it's just, I don't know. I don't even see the point of, like, asking. You're either going to get a no or a cryptic answer, and then we're going to see it happen anyway in the movies. Just fucking wait for it and enjoy it, I loved that he compared denying being in Spider-Man movies or like Marvel movies to denying of being a mobster, which I thought was pretty funny. He was like, it's like people are asking me if I'm in the mafia. And I'm like, hey man, just say yes or no or say nothing or because then the guy, I forgot his fucking name, but I think he does it. He's pretty famous when it comes to this stuff. He was like, so just to confirm, you're not. And he was like, I feel like that's what I just said, and that made me laugh. How many times you got to fucking say yes or no? You should also assume no one's going to believe you at this point. And then there were a bunch of leaks that I read somewhere where it's like, honestly, how can you trust anyone saying anything at this point? Unless you're fucking Watts, I don't believe a word you're going to say about this movie. And even he is like, yeah, no, it's a small movie, whatever. Yeah. We got this Black Kal-El Superman movie being produced by J.J. Abrams, which is interesting. Interesting for several reasons. One is the one that I focused on, was the fact that it was announced on Henry Cavill's birthday, that it would be a Black Kal-El, which I'm not going to bitch and moan about. That's not the issue with all of this. The issue is that you have this multiverse. How come you're not making 2 Superman movies at once? You can do that now. It doesn't matter if it's Black Kal-El, White Kal-El, Val-Zod, or any other fucking characters that are Superman. You have the multiverse. Everything exists at the same time. Continuity doesn't matter anymore. That's the one thing that I personally see like the what's the word when you see like the opportunities or something, that like when I see the what could happen, the possibilities with DC's multiverse is like continuity will not matter unless you're in that Earth. So who the fuck cares about any other continuity changes? Put it in its own world. Even if it isn't, put it in your head and you'll be more content. The problem is the fact that they have Henry Cavill not doing anything. How do you not have Henry Cavill not being Superman? And it's obviously, it's like, oh, we don't want to touch, anything Zack Snyder touched, which is like, all right, fine, then you're not going to make any fucking money. You're already not going to make that much money if it was like a Val Zod Superman, like. You want to make fucking money, then fucking, I don't know. There's this interesting relationship with, well, I mean, it's all being shaken up now with this whole Warner Media thing and Discovery, but we'll see how that turns out. They're talking about how, I read a statement that was like like what people want is the priority. And I was like, oh, that's fucking refreshing. You're only like one of the oldest movie studios, and I don't know, whatever. Shit's being shaken up. I wouldn't be surprised if things are very different in 6 months to a year. You know what I mean? Because there's powers going between different people, and if perception and like, if that's what they're leading with now, it's like I see them very well like greenlighting a bunch of stuff that the fans want. You know? I don't know, man. I mean, like, they're filming like the Flash movie right now, and people are like upset at that. And it's like, hey, man, it's its own thing. Don't be upset at that. Be upset at the fucking executives that like didn't even watch. He said this in an interview recently, and people are shitting on him for giving interviews. And fuck that. If what happened to Snyder happened to me, bro, you wouldn't hear the fucking end of me. You understand? If what happened to him happened to me, like in that consequential order of, your daughter kills herself, you take some time off to be like, oh wow, I'm sad because I'm a human man and my daughter, like the whole idea of no fucking parent should have to bury their child. And then the studio's like, all right, well, we want to hit the numbers and we have to make the date. So what we're going to do is we're going to bring on this guy who knows how to make group hero movies. It's a fact. Joss Whedon, human pile of shit. It's a fact. He knows what he's fucking doing. The problem is he's handed half of something that is nowhere near the type of stuff he does. So of course, when he tries to make the way he does, he does the same face on boobs joke, or he does a bunch of, like excessive ass shots, you're going to get the same thing. You hire that guy, you're going to get that guy's work. So he said, Zack Snyder said in an interview recently, like, I said, let come to my house. I'll show you the cut. We'll see where you can work. And then they said they were inclined to do it. And I was like, bro, they didn't even fucking see like the previs cut of your stuff. How the fuck do they go and hire a new person before any of that, without any consultation of like how to move forward? And then you have those assholes in what was it, February? Or just before the Snyder Cut dropped on HBO Max, being like, yeah, no one wanted to say Joss Whedon's was a piece of shit. And suddenly Joss Whedon owns everything? Suddenly he makes the fucking decisions? You're the fucking executives. How the fuck does this happen? How the fuck does this happen? How the hell does it get to the point where it's like, all right, yeah, we want to, like, it's a stupid thing to say the studio only wants to make money, because it's like, yeah, no shit, they're only there to make money. It's the type of money they're trying to make. They're trying to make Marvel money. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. You're trying to make $1 billion using a type of formula that you don't know how to use, that if you wanted to do, you should have done it 10 years ago. Start it 10 years ago when it's fucking a fresh new idea that was interesting. And instead, you take Snyder's fucking skeleton of a movie, You give it to a guy who does the same shit. He does the same shit. And not only do you get a shit movie out of that entire situation, you get everything happening with like the onset abuse rumor. I mean, not even rumors. Fucking at this point, it's like if you're having multiple accusations from multiple people on multiple projects, I'm gonna say it's true. I'm gonna say you did that shit. And you can drop out of your, or you can get fired from your HBO Max show. Not going to change the fact that, like, hey, man, some stuff is fucking permanent. So, and then you hear, like, not only, like, so Snyder pitches the idea of doing the cut, and the pandemic happens, and they're like, oh, great, now we have some time for a bunch of VFX artists to just kind of comb over this thing. Or toil over it, let's say that, because I saw on the Corridor Crew digital VFX artists react, like they had to like crunch them. They had like what 7-8 months or something like that to do it. Do a whole fucking new movie, 4-hour movie. And he talks about how like they still made it hell for him. He's like, listen, I'm doing this because the fans want it. I'm doing something that the fans will appreciate. Yes, there are going to be people who hate me for it, who hate the fact that, like, do you think that this was his plan? Do you think that these were the intentions? Not even just the idea of like what started everything, like him wanting to grieve for his fucking dead child. The concept of like, do you think that like this was his idea all along to be like, yeah, I'm going to cause a giant fucking uproar. And then I'm going to totally like burn every bridge I have with this one studio. And I'm going to release my 4-hour cut on a streaming service. And like, that sounds like if you told someone he was like 4 years ago to do that, they think you're fucking crazy. And it's fucking ridiculous to have people be like, he didn't make it better. I would not have made it better. He didn't. I mean, he started hinting on Vero, like he probably had like a non-disclosure agreement to a certain fucking point, and then after that, all I would do was put up stuff. I would talk about it everywhere. I would go Green Lantern say what at any fucking conversation, and they go, "What'd you say?" And I go, "Oh, nothing. I just had Jon Stewart in my movie. That's all." How the fuck would I don't like? I get you not liking Snyder subjectively. I get you not liking his movies, whatever the fuck. But like being upset at him about all this entire fucking situation, it makes no sense to me. It makes no sense whatsoever to be like, "Hey man, you didn't make this easier for, consumers, for people who just want what they want all the time forever." Oh jeez, I'm not gonna chew ice in front of the fucking microphone. I don't know, man. It's fucking frustrating. But all this stuff is happening with Warner Media. I read some quote that was like, how do you turn one of the most profound, like, how do you get a bunch of filmmakers like Nolan and a bunch of people turning on Warner Brothers? You do what they've been doing for the last 2 fucking years. 2-3 years. So, but it looks like hopefully changes will be made. I don't know. I'm very uninformed. Don't listen to me. I only know what I see on Twitter. That's what most people on the planet should say. I only know what I fucking see on Twitter. But yeah. Yeah. We'll see what happens. What else is there to talk about? I feel like I fucking worked, excuse me, through all this shit. You know what? Let's talk about that actually. Let's another Snyder topic, but not the Snyder cut. Army of the Dead has 2 prequels coming out. And what's beautiful to me, genuinely, and it's very Netflix to do this. So not only did Netflix greenlight Army of the Dead for Snyder, they greenlit 2 other projects. And one of those other 2 is already done filming. And that's very funny to me to think about how much he was able to get done with a studio that let him do what he wanted. And I understand you can't let a filmmaker always do what they want. I get that. There have to be things that run through specific phases of people in the fucking upper tier. I understand that. However, when you let them do what they want, better things happen. And this has been going back fucking this is not new with Snyder. Snyder didn't start this. That's a whole other concept of being like, did Snyder start the idea of director's cut? Like, no. This happened with fucking Richard Donner in the 70s. He got fired halfway through his movie. Some fucking guy made it, turned into some silly goose fucking thing. And then years later, the Donner cut releases. And it's like, oh, remember, it was titled the Richard Donner cut. And you know, it's also Zack Snyder. It's very easy. Here's the thing. I knew so many people in college and in high school who were Zack Snyder. Does that make sense? Literally the most passionate fucking people who it's kind of like so intense to be around that you got to give them a couple days every now and then. You know what I mean? You had to have known someone growing up that was like that, where it's like, oh shit, he's got like a huge pool, but sometimes I got to give him a break. Sometimes I got to be like, all right, I'll see you next week. You know, he's so extensively passionate about what he cares about. And it's so genuinely fucking inspiring to see, personally. And at the same time, give it a week. Does that make any fucking sense? So the point is, he's got Army of Thieves, this prequel movie. Now, here's the great thing about this prequel movie. It is, I don't know how to say this poor guy's name, but he was fucking amazing in Army of the Dead. Matthias... Fucking Jesus. Let's see how to say this. How do you say Matthias Schweighöfer? Matthias Schweighöfer. He's German, I think. Yeah. Which is like, he's so funny in this fucking movie. And Army of Thieves follows. So Army of the Dead is a zombie outbreak happens in Las Vegas. Years later, Vegas is walled off, and before they're about to nuke Vegas, before they nuke it, there's a casino with a bunch of fucking money in it, and this guy sends in a group of people to get the money. One of those group of people is Matthias, his character. So the prequel is going to be his character breaking into, I think, a bank with a bunch of people, because his whole thing is he's the safecracker in the movie. He's the guy that, you know, appreciates the technicalities of like a beautifully crafted safe, and it's fucking hilarious and so funny. And that's and he's directing Army of Thieves. Think about this for a second. Just think about how fucking amazing this is. Snyder brings on this actor. What else has Matthias been in? This is a very fucking Snyder thing to do, to bring on people that it's like, who are you? We don't know who you are, but you're going to do an amazing job at what you're doing. Fantastic. Matthias is directing Army of Thieves. And think about that. Snyder brings you on as one of the main characters in his film. He gets this producer deal with Netflix, and you end up directing your own feature under like his deal. Just think about the what's the fucking word? Like the exponential rise in that. That's fucking amazing. That's amazing. And that's another thing. Hearing everyone that works with Snyder always be like, just, you can't find someone that's not like a fucking critic who never made it into the business saying a bad thing about him. You can't find someone who doesn't write Rotten Tomatoes articles about him or like shit rotten reviews about him say a bad thing about Zack Snyder. It's not going to fucking happen. And yet you see like a bunch of these same fucking critics and reviewers like tweeting back and forth with Joss Whedon a couple of years ago being like, oh, you fucking rascal. It's like, oh, interesting. That's very funny to hear. So you have that. Army of Thieves coming out, and he is directing it, which is fucking amazing. I love that so much, just that idea. And now you have this anime prequel. Now, what's interesting about this, it keeps all the characters from Army of the Dead in it. It takes place during the outbreak in Las Vegas, the beginning of the outbreak. The movie takes place years after, or sometime after the outbreak, and they're about to nuke. The anime series takes place during the outbreak. It's Dave Bautista's Scott Ward, the main character in Army of the Dead, and his group, who we meet 3 of in this movie. fight, like taking down zombies in Las Vegas. It's an animated zombie outbreak with and they're all going to be voicing their characters. Batista's voicing his character, and there's a bunch of other characters that like Joe Manganiello is going to be in it, and it's just I don't. This is such a great, like, this is how much he's been able to get done under Netflix in just 3 years, and it took him what fucking so long with Warner Brothers to just get the fucking Snyder cut out. I don't know. It's just so cool, man. The anime series Lost Vegas will chronicle the origin of Bautista's character and his rescue crew during the initial fall of Vegas to confront the mysterious source of the zombie outbreak. Snyder is directing 2 episodes of this anime series. Woo! I'm so excited. I sounded like I was singing there for a second, but I wasn't. Yeah, it's going to be good, man. Matthias talked about when it came to directing this upcoming series. He said, where is it? It's already been a great pleasure to be a part of this wonderful ensemble around Zack. It's a fascinating project. I'm happy that it is now being developed on so many different levels when it comes to the growing of this like zombie world of people dealing with that shit. So fuck yeah, man. That sounds fucking awesome. I'm here for fucking all of it. And that's pretty much it. That's the end of all the Snyder talk. I feel like I talked for a very long time on that. I don't know how I'm going to clip this up. We'll see. What's next, man? I guess now I can talk some... let's talk some Invincible. Is it too late? Do people care anymore? Right? I'm excited. I mean, I wanted to talk about it when it finished, but I just didn't end up doing it. So, how about my favorite thing? I'm going to just go, I feel most people have seen it, so fuck the spoilers. My favorite thing about this show is I really enjoy, it's interesting. Something about these latest, real look at superhero worlds and movies and shows and stuff like that is the way they tackle certain aspects of it. Like, what I love about The Boys so much is that the way that superheroes are tackled through the commercialization of it all is amazing. I love that idea of Homelander origins, Homelander rise of the like the idea of the capitalistic commercialization of these heroes and these powers, and it's very, very interesting. And you don't see that anywhere else in a world where if superheroes existed in our world, that's how it would be. Brands and logos, and 100% you would see people selling their own fucking merch. Like superheroes would be on YouTube. Hey guys, make sure to like, subscribe, or I'll laser your ass and all that shit. So that's what I love about The Boys is that level of, that level of realism. What I love about Invincible's level of realism is it's much more exaggerated than The Boys. I mean, and you can't do that because it's animation. You have all these monsters and different planets and aliens and all that shit, which is awesome. It's so cool to see all these regular comic book movie and show and comic book conventions used that way, What's more interesting is the way that they go into detail with that kind of stuff. Like when I almost said Homelander, when Omni-Man is beating the shit out of Mark and he's explaining to him, do you know how slow we age? The older we get, the slower we start to age. So by the time you look 30, it's going to be like hundreds of years. And the way I thought about it, I was like, that's so fucking cool to think about it that way. There's nothing cooler to me than thinking about powers that way because it makes fucking sense. Like Superman, I mean, I love the idea of the older you get, the biology just grows slower. That's such a cool way to kind of explain away the idea of that's why he always looks the same all the time. You know what I mean? It's so fucking cool to me. And you have that great moment where after he nearly beats Mark to death, and he flies off, and he breaks through the atmosphere. Something that I never thought about was like all the liquid and everything would burn or freeze off, and when he breaks through the atmosphere, you see all the blood just off of him. I thought that kind of shit is my favorite thing about this show. And everything else about this show is fucking amazing. I love the gore, I love the blood, I love the humor, and I love the animation, and I love that it's fucking cheap. You can do so many different types of complex animation. There's a charm to cheap animation, and even when they do like the you can tell like they splurge with like certain 3D types of animation. Even when they do that, it adds to the show's charm. And as much as I would love certain areas of the animation to but have more money put into it so that it could look a little bit better. I hope not. I hope it doesn't change too much, because there is something very endearing about this type of animation. It's very simple. It's very monochromatic. And then when it wants to be complex, it looks great. When that satellite laser hits Omni-Man and the lightning comes off the screen, like it's so beautifully complex and interesting. And the best thing about cheap animation is fewer fucking frame rates, man. You can pause it, and instead of getting that smear effect, that most animation gets, because that's how they create motion blur. You get solid shots of. There's that one of Omni-Man punching Mark, and his face is fucking like, it's so like contorted and full of, and his eyes are still red from the fucking guy poking his eyes, and that's my favorite thing. That's why I love cheap animation, because there's the ways you work around issues with that kind of animation, with that kind of budget. It forces you to be creative, and it forces you to go into a world where it's like, how are we going to work our way out of it? We found a way. That's awesome. Rather than just, hey, fix it with money, which is great. That's a great idea. Fix it with money. Fantastic. At the same time, you lose a bit of that charm, which I hope they don't get rid of when it comes to Invincible. Another thing I love about Invincible, the insane advancements in technology in this show. When it comes to like the government, and when it comes to what everyone else is able to kind of put up with, like the countermeasures that, or even, I don't know if it's government, it's like a shady superhero government agency, whatever. I love like when Cecil's talking to Mark, and he's in a bright white room, and it's like, oh yeah, humans or regular people don't have the optics like in their eyes to be able to see this. So he turns it off, and it's a room full of people working on science fiction shit. And he turns it back on, and it's blank white. Like, that is the kind of stuff that, in a interesting real take on superheroes, that's the kind of shit that I want to see. If you were able to mix together The Boys' commercialization and the caste system that comes from superheroes with Invincible's take on sci-fi, you have the best. I mean, they both have the same amount of Invincible is more. I mean, The Boys is more like very, not even gory. It's more like it's full of gore, but it's more of a satirical kind. Does that make sense? Whereas Invincible is very like, oh shit, that train scene? I mean, come on, man. The best part about that is I love that that Omni-Man's arm is a still frame. And it not only that, like, that's clearly like, hey, let's put all the animation into the blood and the guts of the people. So let's keep Omni-Man's arm straight and in one way. But what that also does at the same time, through that use of animation, is show how physically unstoppable both, Mark and Omni-Man are. Because Mark, he's flailing around, but that you still see him moving. Omni-Man being stuck there and just nothing. And it's like in The Boys when the car wraps around Queen Maeve. It's like it's that kind of effect. And it's just really another interesting way to do that in an animation of all fucking things, So good. What else? What else for the finale? So many coals left in the fire. So much left to build up. You have Cecil making like an army of those robots with the guy voiced by Ezra Miller. You have The Martians are doing a bunch of things. You have that fucking tiny little alien that keeps coming back to Earth, plotting something. So much is going on that they're leaving alone, which I can't wait. They got greenlit for I think a season 2 and 3 automatically, which is fantastic. I could watch this forever. And I just found out, not just like a couple weeks ago, that 144 issues of the comic total, and 8 episodes in season 1 covered, I guess, the first 12 issues I read. So a lot of source material to go through that I can't wait to see. I'm holding off reading the comics until after. No, that makes no sense. I'm holding off reading the comics for a while. I don't want to, not even for spoiling myself for like plot points or whatever. I want to experience them very separate. It's the same I did with the boys comics. I don't want to read them yet. I will eventually, not like after the show's finished, because that's going to be in a while, but I want to distance the two of them because I know that they're so different. Maybe not Invincible as much, but like with the boys especially, that stuff is very different. What else is there in that finale? Learning that like no other Viltrumite has left their assignment. That's crazy. Thinking about this species across the globe, that's crazy. I mean, if they're all so bent on like, you know, that's so funny, the Empire. If they're all so bent on everyone joining the Empire, just send multiple everywhere, and instead of what's his face, fucking Nolan having to do it over time, you know. When he said that Mark's mom was more like a pet, I was like, damn, and not because like calling her like a dog or anything. Like, think about the lifespan. He's exactly right. I mean, if you think about it that way, think about like with your dog. It's basically the same. The lifespans are significantly shorter. You have them for a very, very small portion, small portion of your life. It's basically the same as like, you know, oh yeah, this is my fucking poodle. I have her for 11 years and then I'm gonna get a new one. You know? That's so fucking cool. What else is there, man? We can talk about how ambitious Batista is and how much I love him for it. There's nothing better than like raw ambition to me. Finding raw ambition in someone and then being like, yeah, this is what I really want to do and I'm working towards that. Maybe it's because I don't have any of that raw ambition, so it's very nice to see. He's like Batista talking about how he wants to do dramatic acting and he wants to make his own movies eventually, and how watching Snyder, like, because Snyder was he not only directed but he was also DP of Army of the Dead, cinematographer. So seeing that like progression, being like, oh, that's so interesting, because you have two guys like say people comparing Batista and The Rock makes no sense. They're entirely two different entertainers. Yes, they both started off with, you know, professional wrestling, but they're entirely different entertainers with different goals and different ambitions. And The Rock is going to be in every movie he can be and be just as entertaining in every single one. But that's not what Batista wants. It's very interesting to hear him talk about that kind of stuff. And it's really kind of inspiring to hear him talk about, I want to do dramatic acting. I want to make movies, but not giant blockbusters. I want to do these small, contained, dramatic movies. And it's like, damn, that's so fucking... It's not only just refreshing to see because everyone wants to do like a hit nowadays, like a giant fucking summer blockbuster, but it's also just, he's right. Like being his physicality, being such a giant motherfucker, and coming from a professional wrestling entertainment standpoint, it's like, yeah, you'd think he'd want to just be the loudest motherfucker in the room. It's like, nope, he wants to do what he wants to do, and that is amazing to see. That's really fucking cool. So yeah, man. It's great. What else is there? What else is there to talk about? I'm probably missing some things, but you know, fuck it. I don't want to overload anything. I think that's it, man. I think that's it. Yeah. All right. This was a good one. I feel good about this one. We'll see. Oh, this is not the right time to bring this up, I guess, but hey, check it out. Posters. I got a bunch of them. I'll play some footage over this, but like I got some cool posters, and I want to put up more, obviously, but yeah, it's looking good. I'm liking how it's all coming together. I'm playing around with the lighting, so if it looks like shit, let me know. You know, I'll change it up. But I got these fucking LED lights that I want to try out. Let's change this for a fucking second. Ooh, spooky. Now let's go back. I like the purple one more. Where's that? There we go. Yeah. All right. Follow me on Instagram, Comedian to Cinema. Follow me on Twitter, Comedian to Cinema. If you have Vero, follow me there too. And subscribe to the YouTube channel. If you're watching, you're on it. If you're listening, you're on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Follow the podcast there. And if you could leave a rate and review on Apple Podcasts, that'd be cool. Because that helps. All right. That's done. Have a good one. See you next week for a special, awesome fucking episode that is awesome. See you next week.